guys and girls, it's Pete, Mind Wise Man's channel, aka Maverick Outdoors, and today is Saturday the 8th of March 2014, and the early hours of this morning, earlier on, I decided to change all my plans and just to come out, get out there for about 24 hours. It's about 4:30 in the afternoon now. It's a really lovely day. They've got little tributaries of little streams that cut through in different directions, and when the weather has been not as bad as what it's been the past sort of 4-6 months, it's got flooded. So I'm just hoping part of this trail that I'm taking will get me at a reasonable time in daylight to one of the places that I pitch. Come on. Yeah, so as I was saying, there's been some forest management in here. There always is anyway, but wow, there's a lot of trees that have come down. I don't think we're part of the, planned maintenance. I think it's all from the stormy weather. So anyway, I've got about another half a kilometre to go until I'm going to know whether or not a particular area in front of me down there is flooded. And if it is, it means it's going to cross over southbound to the direction I actually want to pitch up. Anyway, watch this space. So around this area is normally what that gets flooded. The pathway or the trail is pretty squidgy, so I'm going to go around the edges like I've done before, but just over there, that's normally full of trees. It was the last time I was here anyway. Okay, because I'm going up a slight gradient, it's away from the fall of the water, so as I was hoping, it's a bit more firmer, terra firma up here. Keeping my voice down because I don't want to draw attention to myself audibly, because it's a sunny day and a lot of people are going to be making the most of it, and also tomorrow Sunday as well, to come out when they've not been able to frequent these woods or this location. Right, a bit muddy there, so we're going to cut through this direction. There's some lovely bird song in the background. More deck trees over there. All these stumps that have been cut down over the past 6 months at least, from the last time I was here. But I'm going to go and attempt to pitch up. One of the last times I was here, it's been featured in a number of the videos. So I just want to make the most of this weekend's weather. So it was an impromptu decision late last night, early hours of the morning when I came back from a late night dog walk. It was really misty, and I just thought, right, got to get out there and actually do some leisure time, outdoorsy stuff. Right, a little bit further up there, and then I've got a hanger left. Okay, so this is where I've pitched before. not much green foliage or shrubbery around to sort of screen me off. But from looking at the fallen trees and any dead wood, not much has changed since the last time I was here, so I'm going to double check, give anything upstanding a good push, anything that's within falling range trajectory to me. But I think I'm going to be alright here. So it's now coming up to nearly 5:30, so I've got about an hour of decent light, so I'm going to set up shelter. Okay, sorted, bashed to the max. It's just gone 6 o'clock, so it took me just over half hour to sort of clear the ground, but I've sort of gone a bit stealth mode, just for the sake of it really. There we are. I'll explain a bit more about it in the morning and how I sort of set it up. I'll just take you into the front where I've got two parts of the camo netting. I'll just turn the torch on just so that you can see just a little bit more. Basic stuff, what I've done before. It's just there to screen sort of my outline, and I'm going to be drab colours anyway. I've got some more kit to put on in a little while, which is going to be olive green. Because of the fallen trees and sort of this area over here, I'll just show you. So it's dusky, I can see it really well, but of course the camera doesn't pick it up. But just all along here, you know, there's loads of straight horizontal lines. If it does sort of blind the eye line from anyone that's sort of around within, I don't know, 20 to 100 metres, they're not going to see me unless they are bothered to walk into this inhospitable part of the woods, or they come chasing after their dog. As I heard someone about 50, 60 metres away where the part of the path is. But you know, you can sort of just see here, it's all sort of straight lines. But tomorrow daylight, I'll give you a better spec of it. But you know, from a distance, even from, blimey, sort of 10 metres away, it just sort of really blends in. So, you know, that's the main aspect, that's the main objective I like to do. So, bring it on. I'm going to have a good time now. The sky's clear, I don't know if you can just see the moon. Yep, it's a half moon on the wax. So it's a lovely mild evening. Let's illuminate my face. Hello. It's a lovely mild evening, bit of freshness in the air. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of mist actually later on, because obviously with this warm weather drawing out the moisture that's been saturated in the ground, which is exactly what happened last night. It wasn't too much of a chill factor, so that enabled the pressure to lift off from the ground, and for any warmth to rise from the mild day yesterday. So I think it's going to be, you know, sort of pretty similar today and tonight, and especially tomorrow. It's supposed to be even a nicer day tomorrow. So I'm just here to make the most of it. So anyway, here's underneath. Let me just go you through the curtains, my camo curtains. There we are, inside. Rucksack and little Karshy dog. Alright, Karsh. She was very ill at the beginning of this year, but I'll tell you more about that later. Okay, it's just coming up to 7 o'clock. I've got company in my basher, a moth, who's obviously sussed the light and made a beeline for it, or a moth line for it. Anyway, you can see that I'm togged up, a bit more togged up, a bit warmer. Got my body warmer. I also got my dyed camo shirt, but I'll tell you more about that in the morning. I'm not sort of going minimalist, but I've got no fancy grub, believe it or not. No sort of fresh vegetables, fresh meat all going to cook up. I've got some really basic stuff, and I'll show you what I've actually got here. Okay, stainless steel kettle, which was in the green pouch. Then you can see I've got the stainless steel mess tin with a plastic container of biscuits inside that, and then my mug with a small tin of beans, which will be for tomorrow. But I've got 3 litres of water, the 2 litre one there, and then the 1 litre one there. Got me brew pouch and butane gas stove, which of course is the mini pocket rocket. But I'll show you the method to my madness as to what food I brought. So if you want to call it sort of MRE based type food, I'll put actually in this box which as you can see is got the bacon brunch, which is in here as well. So I'll just empty it out and show you what's in there. Okay, so I've got dessert powder, chocolate pudding, so I'll have that for later. Just add water, so lightweight, just add some water in there, so that's easy. I've got an electrolyte drink, which I'm going to have, that's going to be my main consumption in a moment. Then that's the bacon brunch, which I'm going to have some of that, and I've also got some eggs with that. But I've got an MRE heater here. I've not tried this before. This is a microwavable pasta meal, and I'm going to sort of narrow it down within its sort of width, and I'm going to slip it in there, and hopefully the plastic won't melt. I've tried some other containers, or shall I say sort of types of plastic bags, and they haven't worked too bad at all, but I'm going to give that a go. That's going to be my meal later on. And I've got a little bit of beef jerky left over. I've already opened this. It's a resealable sort of Ziploc bag that this stuff comes in, and there's about half of it in there. You can just sort of see it through that transparent bit where my thumb is, and I've cut it up into small pieces, so when this is heated up I'm going to put that in there. Then I've got a bread wrap which is folded in half and cling filmed to sort of keep it relatively fresh, and that's buttered. There's the 2 eggs that's going to go with that potato and bacon brunch tomorrow. I've got some mackerel as well, just in case the pasta MRE fails in the flameless ration heater. But the next meal I'm going to have now is one of the best MREs known to man, which is a cheese and pickle and tomato bread wrap, and I'm going to have that with the electrolyte drink, which is basically adding about, I think it's 12 fluid ounces of water, which is about half a canteen. Give it a good shake and you've got sort of an energy drink, which is great if you're out on the trail and you need the calories. But I'm just having it because I've got it out of that job lot, and I just fancied it basically. So that's the meal I'm going to have in a moment. This is the one I'll have later on. And as I say, if something happens with this reacts with the heater because of the plastic, I mean it's microwavable, you can boil it in water in a saucepan, so I'm just hoping the direct contact to this MRE heater, the flameless heater, won't have any sort of adverse effect on the plastic. But so I've not tried this type, so suck it and see. And if all that fails, then I've got that. But if that works out alright, I'll put that back in the box, and then that goes with the breakfast tomorrow, which is tin of beans, the bacon and potatoes and the eggs, and that's going to get cooked in that stainless steel mess tin just there. So to process this, once that sachet of pasta's in that ration heater, I'm going to put it in this box, because then I can utilise this. It saved me bringing an MRE box that normally comes with the army issue MREs, so I can also put all the rubbish back in there when I finish with it and take it back on my return. Drink it out of the sachet. Don't know if you can see me. Ah! No, I'm kidding. No, it's nice. Spot on. Lemon and lime electrolyte drink. Makes you sparkle. Okay, so I'm quite happy with the way that went. The little sachet that the pasta meal was in didn't react at all. It just sort of heated up, didn't shrivel up or wither or anything like that. So yeah, good little test run on that. So the MRE does actually work, little microwavable meal in the flameless ration heater. All good stuff. I'm going to stuff my face now and also have that bread wrap with it and then knock up a brew. Okay, so I added the water to the chocolate dessert, gave it a good old shake up. I'm going to give it a stir with a spoon in a moment. Then I cut some of the rest of the bag off, as you can see there, sort of about a third of the way down, just so it's easier to get into. So now I'm going to scoff that. Chocolate yummy. Good morning. It's about 9:30 Sunday morning, and woke up a bit earlier just as dawn was breaking. Actually, there's a bit of mist on that pan view that I just did there. It was quite nice. The sun was striking up at the east and it was sort of coming right into me, so I got the first day's warmth. That's why I came out last night, literally so I could wake up in the morning, know the sky was going to be clear, because that was odds on what the weather had been predicted. Alright doggy. Yeah, you've been sniffing around, chewing bits of grass. And so yeah, I could experience the clement weather. So for at least 24 hours we've had mild weather. Last night the sky was clear, you could see the stars, even though it was only the half moon. It really sort of resonated, and yeah, it was a nice, relaxed, mild evening, coolness in the air, with the odds-on prospect of waking up to this lovely, calm morning. So there's a sort of freshness in the air, but got a little bit cold last night, not because there was any breeze or anything, but as you can see, I donned the old two-season Tropical Army, unzipped it. For those newbies, anyone that's not seen it before, haven't done it for a while, but unzipped it, so it was just the foot end. I could just loop it over, hood it over my boots, and then it draped either side of me. And then Acacia's bit of fleece was there, she lied there, and I could just cover her over. And then have a nice relaxing kit. But so I woke up early this morning and then fell back asleep again, and then just at 9:30 now. But had the old hello dog, you ain't coming in here. She's excited because she hasn't been out for a while, because she was recuperating after a little health problem that she had. Well, as I say, I'll tell you about that a bit later. But back onto the clothing. German issue, Army issue Parker liner, and then the body warmer, and then my camo shirt. It's a long sleeve shirt. It's a British Army issue, and it's known as a tropical shirt. It's poly cotton, but it actually comes out the same sort of normal woodland camo. But what I did, I dyed it with some cold water dyes, 2 sachets, soaked it, put it in the basin. Didn't need a machine dye wash or anything, it was just hand dyed, and that sort of just took away the sort of slightly military look to it, so it looks a little bit more sort of urban casual. But anyway, I like it, and looks a little bit less military. There's the irony. He says laying under an army issue MTP tarp. And wearing under my thermal softy trousers that I slept in. MTP trousers. Personally, I think the MTP is a little bit more subtle and is a little bit more sort of practical for urban wear as well. If you don't want to sort of have the military look, then obviously don't wear camo stuff or change the tone of the colours. Anyway, that's my point of view anyway. Hence, that's why I dyed this shirt. Because if you're in an area and you don't want to sort of look all military on legs, then obviously just wearing more sort of drab, subtle colours, like as I've got here. Back to the lovely weather. I can feel the warmth coming through the tarp right there. It's sort of gone from, the sun's gone from east, obviously it'll go to west. So it's sort of like southeast at the moment, going on to south. So I'm going to have the sunlight coming through all the time that I'm going to be here. I might even take the tarp down in a little while because I don't need it for shelter. And by the time I've got sorted, pack some of my kit away and then make something to eat, tidy up, it'll just be sitting in the outdoor space basically, rather than actually needing any basher as such. So anyway, I'm going to make something to eat now. Take a journey into Yummyville. Cheers. Got a few of the potatoes left over, which I've kept in this bag. Which obviously the potatoes came in, and someone's going to have them as a TREAT. Anyway, I'm going to get this down my throat now. Yeah, you want some, don't you? Hey? You want some? Yes, I know. Okay, back to the shirt I was talking about earlier. It's long sleeved. It's sort of known as the Tropical Army jacket actually. It's sort of really thin, nice and lightweight, dries very easily. The shades of colour are the same as normal sort of woodland camo, but they've got a slightly different sort of pattern, and the yellowy or light tan colour tends to be a bit brighter. So I've had this shirt for blimey about 6 years, bought it brand new, unissued, but I just like the sort of lightweightness of it. It's got some nice two bellows pockets on the chest, zip, and then of course it buttons up the front. But I did attempt to dye it with just one pack, and I wanted to do it black, not because I was expecting it to come out black. As you can see, it's still got sort of tones and the shapes of the actual pattern. But the first one didn't sort of get as dark as I wanted, so I happened to have sort of quite a few spare, so I got two black ones again, and then did it as you can see, and it's a much darker colour. And as I say, just takes a sort of army military look off of it, you know. I mean, obviously we've got no choice with a lot of kit. I'll just take you back to my sofa. Ah, dog. Ah, doggy. You're alright now. You've been getting better. Okay. Good girl. You know, we've got no choice with a lot of the army issue kit and clothing, because it's all camo, you know. It's made for the military and it's made for sort of warfare and not being seen. Military kit seems to be much better made than normal commercial outdoors clothing, if you want to call it that. I mean, some good stuff out there, but I'm not into bright colours, as well, you know. Yeah, I could get a green tarp. I might get one soon. One of the well-known ones that comes 3 by 3 metres in drab olive green. But at the moment, I'm quite happy with my MTP. So I don't mean it to sound a contradiction in terms, you know, sort of saying, well, why do you don't want camo clothing as such? Hang on, I've got MTP trousers, but they're a little bit more subtle than your normal woodland. And then you've got all the rest of the stuff's military. Yeah, the netting, you know, the sort of stealth or just sort of secluding yourself so you're least noticeable. And I know unless anyone walks within sort of where I am, 15-metre radius, they're not going to be looking for anything specifically, and they're definitely not going to come across me, and even less when I've got a sort of a setup like that. All of this woodland, it's a massive woodland with different types of trees. It's got heathland, but about half hour's walk from where I'm here, there's lots of different types of wildlife that you'd expect to live on heathland. There's all different sort of heathers, lots of different sort of shrubbery, interesting stuff. And there's also adders, snakes. And the British adder's not that harmful, but it's just a nuisance if you did get bit. Yeah, they could sort of creep over here, but they're not going to struggle to leave a habitat that that's conducive to what they want. So I don't think they're going to come into this woodland. Yeah, so I had to double check all around this area. Say the majority of the trees and branches all looks exactly the same as what they did before. The bad storm damage. So that's sort of a good indication, not to take for granted, but it's a good indication that if they're still standing, then of course these two main trees, the two uprights that I use here, I've been here sort of well over half a dozen times on this particular spot. But just sort of giving you a quick explanation here, I'll just take that off and take this camo netting back. Obviously I'm not going to teach you to suck eggs, you know this is the ridge line. I've pulled that bit up so I can sit under it, but just along here, normally what I've done is I've actually brought this ridge line at the end and sort of brought it diagonally down to get some tension and to have a nice tautness and shape to the bash. It's not going to be inclement windy weather. If it had been, then I'd have had to change it, but I thought if I rest that up against there, I mean it's freestanding, I can move that. But then by attaching that to that, it brought this up higher and just made it a little bit more spacious either end. So I wasn't just relying on the central point of the ridgeline to sort of be pulled up. And I've got the same over here as well. Again, it's freestanding, just this piece of wood, it's loose. Leant it against a tree, sort of wedged it so it stays nice and secure. And then the same principle here, where the ridgeline comes along. I just got it freestanding, whereas I used to, when I've done it before, is actually had it down on the ground, so of course that takes it down lower, as you can appreciate. So that did a real good job. As you can see, at either end. So as far as those two end areas along that ridgeline, on those freestanding bits of wood, I've not actually done that before at this particular setup, so yeah, all good stuff. And considering, you know, the weather was really mild, I could get away with it. Otherwise I think it would need something a little bit more firmer and literally attached into the ground. And then if there was any breeze or, you know, heavy wind, it would have gone over the top and not actually channeled and tunnelled underneath the basher. But even when I have been in these woods, when it's been really bad weather and windy weather, it's never really sort of kicked into the ground level. It's always been about sort of some of the tallest trees halfway up and then all the way to the crown of the tree. So yeah, once you get used to your terrains, the areas that you go, you can sort of start to assess the type of weather conditions that you can expect. You're alright, my friendly. Give us your paw. Give us your paw. Come on, sit down and give us your paw. Sit down then. Sit down, give me your paw. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're a good girl. Yeah, so yeah, my little safari camping canoe dog. I thought I was going to lose her at the beginning of this year, in January, not long into the new year. I was upstairs working in my office and just pottering about, and Karsha came running up the stairs, and her body language showed as if she most really wanted to go to the toilet outside in the garden. So I left it a moment, but normally she hangs around. So she went back downstairs again sort of quite quick. So I didn't really think much of it because my mind was occupied on something else. I thought, right, I'll go down in a minute and I'll let her out. And then I heard this sort of scraping because of part of my floor downstairs is laminate, and of course the claws on her paws, you can actually hear them obviously on the laminate, sort of scratchy noise when she pads around, walks around, runs around, what have you. But this was just a continual scratching for about 10-15 seconds. So I thought, straight away, something's not right. So I legged it downstairs, and she was in the middle of the living room with her back legs splayed out, trying to drag herself along on her front paws, and they were starting to collapse, and her head was rolling to one side, and her eyebrows were twitching, and her eyes were going from side to side, and I thought, oh no, what's happening? So I carefully picked her up and sort of was consoling her because I didn't know what was actually happening. I thought maybe she's having a stroke, or, you know, is this it? Is this curtains, you know? Is this goodbye? So of course I tried to keep her calm, laid her down in her bed. So I laid her down in her bed, and as I say, her tail was sort of wagging, but her eyes literally were going from side to side, and the top of her eyebrows were sort of flickering about, and she's like this, and I thought, that's it. And so I got found the emergency number for her, and by this time it was about 7:30 in the evening. So I quickly checked on my vets, and basically, cut a long story short, it was closed, the hours were closed, so I phoned them up. They said there was an emergency number. So I had about a 45-minute drive, wrapped her up. By then she was getting a little bit better. I explained the circumstances to the vet on the phone, and they asked me a few things to do. So as I say, I wrapped her up, put her in the car. By that time she wasn't as bad. Her eyelids were still sort of flicking over, her eyebrows were still, and her eyes weren't going backwards and forwards or side to side as quickly. But it seemed whatever the condition was starting to calm down, but she couldn't walk. So I put her in the back of the car, and so we sort of consoling her and that. Anyway, we got to the vets, and by the time we got to the vets, she could walk on her two front legs just about, but her back legs kept sort of collapsing, and the vet wanted a test and just see what the condition was by seeing what her abilities were. So anyway, one thing led to another, and the vet said, well, we can't really know unless we give her a scan, but then, you know, it goes into expenditure, and you know, it could be unnecessary, so the best thing to do is give her a steroid injection, and also a particular medication, and also another injection which allowed the blood flow, because apparently the condition she had, from the symptoms that she was displaying, was similar to an aneurysm, but it wasn't quite where the blood vessel sort of expands or breaks and then it gets a blood clot, or it causes pressure on the rest of the circulation. And it would seem, on the surface of it, a condition is when there's pressure on the brain, which then switches off one of the nerves at the back of the brain, which controls the optic nerve, and also the spinal column, which means that information of, you know, thinking, processing, then the action wasn't happening. So of course she wants to walk and her legs are collapsing. The vet said it could be anything, but you know, it just had to be sort of trial just to see what her reactions were. But he seemed to think that, you know, considering so, you know, it lasted for about 3 or 4 days. It slowed down as each day went on, but I had to keep an eye on her. Then the following day, I then went to my local vets, and there was medication which was like anticoagulant that thins the blood flow to allow the blood flow to stimulate the central nervous system, which then carries the oxygen, which then makes obviously the central nervous system work. Physiology and anatomy lesson in dogs. And she started to get better, but obviously I had to keep an eye on her, and if some of the circumstances changed, they weren't sure whether it could have been a stroke, or, you know, whether it's a tumour or a mixture of things. But they said about sort of 60-70% of the conditions that she displayed and how she started to respond to the medication gave indications it was just this temporary paralysis, and to keep an eye on her, you know, for a couple of days, and then if she was progressing, to get better. Anyway, she was waddling around, but her character never left her. Her temperament, her character, that sort of whizzy little, oh, there's something there, right, chase after it, even though she was having to drag her legs about. So I didn't want to keep her from being outside. So after about 4 days, we went for the first walk outside near a park and a woodland just around the corner from me. And her legs were a little bit wobbly, but her sense of distance
and proportion to her spatial awareness was quite short. So instead of sort of like projecting herself forward once she saw something or could sense something, she was very sort of confined to about 4 to 6 foot radius, which meant her brain wasn't quite spatially aware of what was around her, and I wasn't sure of her eyesight as well, whether that was on its way out or had a problem. Ah, doggy. Ah, doggy, come on in, sit on my lap. Come on in. Yeah, dog. But the long and the short of it is sort of nearly 2 months later, you can see she's not. You're a good girl. Yeah, you sit on me. You're just getting excited, aren't you? Hey, licky licky. So the long and the short of it is that she's got no permanent damage as such, but she's got a slight lean to her head. When she's focusing on something, her head sort of goes to one side. And I've checked her eyesight with sort of hiding and then clapping my hands or different signals. And sometimes she's sort of lost a bit of a sense of direction where it's coming from. But for about the first 2 weeks, her eyesight were not that good. I mean, she might be able to see where the basher is from where we are. And I thought maybe her eyesight she'd have been short-sighted or something like that. But she's not too bad now. I'd say she's about 95% recovered. I mean, she's got the physical ability. I mean, she's going to be 15 the latter part of this year, so you know she's doing well. She's never had any health problems. She's had a couple of injuries, but she's been a real healthy lump of energy and continues to be so. But what I really didn't want, was if I was to have lost her under those sort of conditions. I'd rather be like myself, you know. When it's my final days, I'd rather be somewhere like this, or trekking over some mountain somewhere in the most inclement weather, and maybe end my days that way, than just something really boring and in 4 walls. And that's what I didn't really want for her, you know. So not that I'm thinking that she's on borrowed time, far from it. I'm just blessed that she's still around, and she got over. You know, she's one of those 60 to 70% that's come through it. So I'm blessed with that, and appreciative that. So we're coming out today, appreciating that she can be with me, but coming out yesterday rather than being out today. You know, there's always that concern if something were to happen. The reason why after about 3-4 days of her being confined, being indoors, was to take her outdoors just a little bit, not force her to do anything, but just take her outdoors and get her into the environment that she's used to and that stimulates her. And albeit she was a bit restricted within that environment because of her abilities, that in itself, you know, creates a well-being process when you put somebody or an animal or anything into an environment which gives them a sense of well-being and a sense of natural ability and who they or what they actually are. It creates a healing process, and I'm quite sure that contributed to it as well. So, as I say, I'm blessed and really thankful. Yeah, silly dog. She's still mad. I don't know where she gets it from. Girl, off you get. Good girl. But one of the good indications, just to sort of finally on a bit of briefing on the health of camping canoe dog, was when I knew that she was definitely on the mend about maybe just nearly 2 weeks ago. She disappeared into the laurel bushes, which is one of the areas where we go for a walk local to me, and she's always sniffing out scents of different animals and what have you, her tail's wagging, and so I had a rummage in the laurel bushes, and then she came out with this ball, because it's near to a park area where people take their dogs and throw balls and the balls get lost. Anyway, she found this ball, came running out, dropped it in front of my feet, legged it off as if to say, right, kick it then. And I thought, yeah, she's back to being a karsha. Back to being a karsha. Ain't you, doggy? Yeah. And the thing is, you know, when you have pets, of course they become part of your life, you know. But especially when I wouldn't call a karsha a working dog, but you know, she's been a tracker with me. She's tracked. She's not a trained tracker, but you know, she's tracked and picked up scents for me when we've done different things. She's been an early warning system for me to know who's about, what's about, even before I've been able to sort of assess anything. So of course, when they become part of your life, especially outdoors, you know, they become more part of everything you do. So yes, that was quite a big issue for me, really. But there you go. That's life.
Righty-ho, as you can see, it's a lovely blue sky. Too good to sit under a tarp or to have any shelter over you. So I'm going to strike all this down now, pack up some of my stuff, and then just have a leisurely wander about. Okay, so it's coming up to about 3:30 in the afternoon, Sunday. Just going for a little strut in the woods. Hear the crunching dry leaves underfoot. Just do a little detour over here. Got a spring in your step, Karsh, have you? One of the drainage trenches just here. So just having a bit of me time now. I suppose I'm sharing it with you guys. You can see some of the rotted trees. Bit of a bridle way sometimes down here. A bit like me, if more people to make the little diversion into where I pitch up, there'd be little tracks like this as well. But I'm the only person to go right into the centre, unless I say it's a marauding dog, which is nice because it gives me the solitude, which is what I like. But I say, as far as, you know, the stealthy camo netting and all that, what I was saying earlier, come, good girl. You know, it's just to keep me sort of out of prying eyes, really, or just being noticed. You know, that's all there is to it. So, you know, if this was a real life and death situation, you know, I most probably wouldn't be here in the first place, and I'd be doing a totally different setup. I'd get dug right in, and, you know, no one would see me unless they're specifically coming looking for me and got the right mindset to look for stealthy campers or people bugging out. But what I would like to add is, you know, if people leaving comments, basically in a nutshell, you know, if you want a response to the comment, it will flag up if you actually do it on the YouTube channel rather than Google+. I know it's maybe just flicking about and changing onto a different internet page, but if you want the response, and for me personally to see it, it normally only flags up when you do it via a YouTube channel. Mindwise Man, Maverick Outdoors, aka. If anyone does respond, they're following you on a Google Plus page, and then they send a comment to a video on the Google Plus. Sometimes it doesn't show up via any YouTube notifications. So I've gone on to Google Plus and been flagged up with about 18-20 odd messages, and didn't even know they were there because they've been done via the Google Plus. So do consider, if you do want to comment, I know it might be a little bit of an inconvenience, but for definitely, from my experience, they've actually shown up via YouTube email, whereby it's flagged up, someone sent a comment, but not all of them via Google Plus. Plus as well, if I've gone onto my YouTube channel or my Google Plus and then made a comment, replied to somebody's comment on the Google Plus, and then there's a bit of response going on, after you've done it about once or twice, you then don't get any reminders from Google Plus to say, oh, this is another comment, the fourth or fifth one. So it can be a bit confusing sometimes. Maybe it's not that confusing, but the way I work it, I just mainly work off my YouTube channel. So if you do leave a comment or you want to respond, then do it via the channel itself. Okay, so this is a pitch where I was. LNT, leave no trace, scuffed up where my body weight had sort of compacted down the ground, just sort of scuffed it up a little bit. If I'd have been here for a couple of days, I might have actually either used my firebox or actually done a small fire pit, but I tend not to really like doing fires in this location, within this woodland, because the scent of burning wood travels, and, you know, it can get people's attention. So I was nearly tempted last night, only because I thought maybe that, you know, there wouldn't be a lot of people around, especially last night, albeit some people sort of live a mile or so down that way and a mile or so right up that way, and they take one of the central paths through this neck of the woods, one of the central main ones, to get to and from the local pub or backwards and forwards to their houses. So sometimes 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, you might hear sort of people having a bit of a giggle and a laugh.
So again, you know, that's why I want to keep all my tension factors down, so not much light, all subdued, and you know, not lighting a fire, because if people are coming back from a pub, you know, they can get a gung-ho attitude, and then we really have to go stealth and go into it big time. So I'm going to switch off now, have a bit more me time, just chilling, just sort of savouring this fantastic afternoon. It's been a fantastic 36 hours. Somebody's dog in the distance. The funny thing is, unless it's the same person that keeps coming along, I don't know, every couple of hours, 3 hours, 2-3 hours, they've got these high-pitched whistles. So if you've got all the people, the dog owners out, all with their dog whistles and all blowing their whistles, which dog goes where? I've got about 4 or 5 different gestures I use for Karsh. A type of whistle, then a clap of the hands, type of rhythm that I use, patting of the leg, and also type noise. You know, you heard that, didn't you? Yeah. So unless someone's done the same sort of commands as me, it's only Karsh that's going to actually respond and actually come to me. So anyway, I'm just going to savour the vibes for about another hour or so, and then get on the tracks. So I'm going to sit on this sofa just for a little while. I've packed up all my kit. Was thinking of making a brew, but not long enough really to stay here. Alright doggy. So I'll finish off by saying thanks for watching, really appreciate your interest. Coming out for this 24 hours to really just make the most of this weather, which has been absolutely glorious. Been absolutely fantastic. I say there's a cool chill to the air, but there's no breeze. Everything's really calm. Really appreciate your interest, and I'll catch up with you, won't we, Karsh? In another video soon. Cheers, take care. Are you going to go soon? Or you want to have a little walk? You want to have a walk?